Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I want to thank everyone in government and law enforcement who up to now have hung in there and are now seeing the rewards of their labor. I wish to remind everybody about the fact that every need in government and the needs of the people are being met. And I must question the legitimacy of initiatives motivated by lack of money and power. I wish to remind everyone that no initiative can reward or take control of money or power or make changes unhealthy for society. The need to address you is very important to me, as it is to you. I was hoping by now that media terrorists, having confirmed great justice of those before them, would by today have given up. Again, I say to you that none of the Mason politicians being used by media terrorists against you are real. Again, I say to you and all channels monitoring this presentation that all acts of Mason media being used against you by media terrorists are very serious crimes. And minute by minute, we are bringing perpetrators to justice around the world. In military political terms, what is happening right now is called propaganda warfare. What we thought was once limited to communist Russia and communist China, Mason organized crime governments around the world and their supporters came also to use this propaganda warfare, which is what we have been fighting against these last 7 years. This behavior by what are now daily changing paramilitary terrorists is not acceptable by any of this planet's real leaders, men and women leaders that you have yet to get to know better. Hiding your leaders from you is what these media terrorists also do. So they can control you using an illusion of a leader or an illusion of a man or a woman who has long ago been brought to justice. They also use illusions of people without their permission to try to control others in matters of politics and finance. The act of using digital videos, then lying to the public and saying it's live coverage, are grave acts of terrorism. In a world where no or poor justice exists, such as the old Mason world, under the current media conditions, paramilitaries could move in and massacre you in small cities, towns, villages, or even large cities, then blame it on the digital leader and continue to use that digital leader as a threat should people protest their massacre or get out of line and thus escape all responsibility for the massacre. This behavior, where mass murder is part of everyday life, is part of the new world order that was promised to you by Masons and members of the German Thule Society, among other secret societies and cults who taught about the New Age Enlightenment, living side by side with genocide, ethnic cleansing, mass murder, and all the crimes of Masonry, white supremacy. This and many other reasons are why we are in a state of emergency level 7 for political news and general information. I promise you to the day that I die, I will fight all these illusions of Masons, Freemasonry, Mason communism, Mason socialism, Mason democracy, and Mason republicanism. I promise you to the day that I die, I will fight the occult and secret societies who put up false news and try to use the news and control the news against you. In the absence of a great many numbers of men and women who have been brought to justice, God's Holy Spirit has been very kind to many people, allowing large periods of time for people to stop before blessing every act and process of justice done on your behalf. as well as all efforts necessary to force people to stop. It's good to know that some people, you should be happy to know, that some people stop on their own. But those who do not stop, regroup, become terrorists, and take over the control of the news from their former bosses. Thus, a continuing cycle of justice is necessary to police this white supremacist criminal conspiracy. My priority as the World Crown and the Director for Interpol is always to assess the most immediate danger and taking the most dangerous terrorists out of circulation. Each day, all matters of justice pursue a path that leads to more justice. In other words, the processes of justice lead us to more terrorist operatives and terrorist operations every day. The processes of justice help us to stop every new encounter with terrorism that we meet. It seems there are many copies of the media conspiracy spread throughout the world, and YouTube is the least of our concerns, but still a concern, no doubt. And every time new terrorists upload videos at YouTube, we immediately know who they are, and in this way, YouTube helps us in the justice process. And though some people stop and come to their senses, real justice never stops. Since we have gained control of real government and real business and all matters of banking, currency, and the reserve, God's blessing is strong upon us and on the justice necessary to return our media to a normal state. Something so simple that God allows us to make or break our own lives over such simple things as false news. God's intervention is well received and well sought every day by good people who have not forgotten the crimes committed by Mason terrorists and their associates, all in the name of white supremacy. God's intervention is needed when men and women and God's intervention is needed when women and men and their kind have turned your heads in politics, using occult practices, trying to make everything seem normal. However, Mason white supremacy, violence, massacres, feminicide, genocide, serial killing, ethnic cleansing, accidental wrongful deaths, fraud, racketeering, child and human trafficking, and all the crimes of Masonry make their world not so normal. There are groups of new terrorists who fancy themselves as business people, but they are political terrorists nevertheless, and are people we need to be careful of should we come across them. In the event you do come across a political terrorist, make sure not to aggravate them, make sure not to make them upset, and politely walk away from them and let God work justice on your behalf. Individuals supporting the terrorist cause inadvertently become terrorists themselves. And the terrorist cause is always trying to regain financial, economic, and political control of the world so they can continue killing citizens and keeping the world in a state of unbalance, poverty, and inequality, where only the few receive the benefits of wealth. It is always about politics, power, economy, and money. And those that don't have it are the people who shouldn't have it, the bad people. So all rallies, all political rallies, attempting to get power back and attempting to get money back is because the bad people lost power. So don't give it back to them, not even in your heart, not even accidentally. There are many peaceful, politically confused people in our society who terrorists use. Terrorists use these people and media, as well as free speech and opinion, to espouse doctrines of communism, socialism, and even democracy, The same doctrines that have kept the world in a state of war these last 100 years. Today's new terrorists are the same as the previous. They are godless people without faces who want to keep you under their control, pretending to care for you. And though having a measure of love, care, and concern, they still support the false control of mass populations, necessary for future death campaigns. What seeks and still seeks to consume you is Mason, Nazi, communist, socialist, Nazism, terrorism. And so, creating digitized worlds where men and women who no longer exist or are able to run for elections that do not exist, this is what these modern day terrorists do. Many of them are former military and a mixed group together with organized crime, but they change every day. Some are worker bees and underlings of the former Mason Mafia, and their justice is deserved, thinking themselves invincible because of the technology that they have in their hands. God's Holy Spirit has given us power and control over our world and governments again. So try not to worry about my image as the world crown. If it's not to your liking or not what it should be, my image is not as important as procuring justice for you and your children and your families and the world. So do not worry about how things look, and keep working every day and praying every day. And enjoy your life. Go out and don't make media. Don't make Mason mass media a part of your life, and everything should be fine in your life. Remember that news illusions do not govern this world, no matter how much people believe in these illusions. We are still in a state of emergency with regards to news, information, and media. Please do your best to pray more each day with regards to the news and refrain from the traditional Mason news format and broadcast. Thank you. This is Jose Maria Chavira, Adagio the First, known to Plume JC Angelcraft. May the Holy Spirit bless you and keep you. May the Holy Spirit cause the light of hope in heaven to shine upon you. And may the Holy Spirit grant you peace in all things. Have a good rotation of the earth. God bless all of you. Thank you.